Hey, here's Adrian from CloudCruise. Super excited to show you 3 core features of our platform. First, the Builder Agent, our hosted coding agent that lets you generate browser automation workflows from scratch quickly. Second, our execution infrastructure, fully hosted VMs that helps you run these workflows in production quickly, affordably, and most importantly, reliably. And third, our maintenance agent, our agent that analyzes any workflow failures and recovers from them if possible, for instance due to a pop-up or a website update. Let's start with the first core feature, our Builder Agent. So you can see here I don't have a workflow yet in this demo account, and we give new users the option to start building a workflow from one of our templates or start building one from scratch. For now, I'll just use one of our templates that basically comes with a start URL, so the URL where the browser agent should start its workflow from, and then also a prompt that helps our coding agent generate this workflow. So let's do the simple NPI registry search for now. This is basically going to be a workflow that accepts an NPI as an input, navigates the form, and then returns any data that it can find for the specific NPI. So what's happening now in the background is basically that our hosted coding agent is being spun up, and we are navigating to the website. And as soon as the website has loaded, the prompt will be sent to our coding agent, and it will generate the workflow for you. What you can see here is also that we are already exposing the draft URL in the background that you can use to call the workflow, and then of course any recorded network traffic is also interesting here. So you can see that the coding agent has already started looking at the web page and identified that it needs data from me. So let me just give it a real NPI number for testing. I just hit submit, and now it's going to actuate the UI and start building out this workflow. You can see it already added the NPI as an input variable, and it has already also added to the sample curl request that you can use to then trigger this workflow in production. So now it's scrolled down because it found the search button further down in the HTML. Click search, and is now looking how to extract this data. What you can already see is that here we have basically 2 different ways to extract data. We can extract data right from the HTML or from network requests that the page is making. Generally, network request interception is faster and oftentimes also returns more data than is being rendered in the HTML. So that's what our agent also identified, and it already suggested a network request that it found that the website is making. So yeah, this looks like it contains all the data that we are interested in here. And so let me just hit apply note. Great. So now it's basically doing a test of this automation workflow that it generated. So this is basically one-to-one what would be executed in production. You can see it was also much faster to run this than the initial build. And yeah, it saved this workflow for me. So this is really the first part. Our coding agent really speeds up the development lifecycle of bringing a new browser automation live. Second, it already saved this workflow for me. So let's head over to our playground and see how I can trigger this and how our monitoring layer looks like. So this will be here. I just give it the same NPI number. And now this is basically running on our production infrastructure. What that basically means is we are sending webhook events for every single event that the agent is doing that you can subscribe to. And you can also see it's executing extremely quickly. Every run that is basically triggered over our production endpoints is also logged in our monitoring layer. So this is what you can see here in the Runs tab. And for every run, we're basically recording a video, take screenshots of every single run. In case you're extracting data from the Network tab, we're also recording the network requests that the page is making, and then any AI actions that the workflow would do would appear here. And then last but not least, of course, on the left side, you can see the JSON object that would be returned. In this case, most importantly, the extracted data on the provider. So this is really the, I'd say, the production layer and the VM infrastructure that comes with the platform. And if you triggered like 10 requests in parallel now, for instance, we'd spin up 10 VMs and run them in parallel so that it scales really seamlessly as your production workloads grow. So last but not least, let's talk about the maintenance agent. So this workflow was just generated. And for every action, our coding agent basically found a robust XPath selector that would only change with like significant website updates. To simulate the behavior now and get a demo of the maintenance agent, let's commit a wrong XPath selector, and I'll show you how the maintenance agent is gonna like recover from this. Okay, I'm just gonna run this again now. So what you see now is basically our execution engine is basically looking for this selector now, and every selector has like, or every action basically has like a default timeout of 15 seconds. This is something you can configure though. So now our execution engine is basically throwing an error, and that always wakes up the maintenance agent. So the maintenance agent is basically ingesting the workflow specification, anything it knows about the specific business process, as well as like live run data and historical run data to analyze the error. So we have a pretty defined or like pretty like sophisticated like error classification matrix at this point that you can check out in our docs. But one of these error categories is basically an incorrect XPath. So something you can see now is basically it's like it classified this failure as an incorrect XPath and automatically recovered from this in flight. So this run would have failed with like pretty much any automation infrastructure out there, but like with CloudCruise, this was still successful and your production workload wasn't impacted. So you can see this here, and it also automatically generated a new XPath for me that I can now just simply commit to the workflow. Awesome, there we go. So now when I'm running this again, it will execute normally again and much quicker. Great, so we've seen three things today. First, our builder agent that lets you generate workflows super quickly. Second, our execution infrastructure that helps you scale these workflows once they're in production to hundreds of thousands of executions. And then third, the maintenance agent that lets you automatically self-heal from workflow failures, such as XPath outdatedness. Great. Have a good day.